Hey everybody, this is Jesse B. Gilmore, agency transformation coach and founder of Niche in Control, creator of Leverage for Growth.
And I'm Lucas James, founder of Twiz.io, which scaled from $0 to $200,000 a month with my own agency.
We are the hosts of Leverage for Growth podcast agency leverage episodes. We know that in order to scale your agency successfully, there are multiple shifts that need to happen within the founder's mindsets, skill sets, and leadership styles. We are on a mission to interview marketing and PR agency owners on their journey to 6, 7, and 8 figures and leverage the lessons from their journey to save you time, energy, and money in order for you to get your agency to the next level. If you find value in these episodes, watch the case study video to learn more about Leverage for Growth and how we successfully scale agencies quickly at nicheincontrol.com/case study. That's nicheincontrol.com/case study. You are now listening to Leverage for Growth. Hey everybody, this is Jesse B. Gilmore, founder of Niche in Control and creator of Leverage for Growth. Welcome to the Agency Leverage Edition. Today, I am here with Quinn, who helps B2B SaaS and agencies grow from 7 figures to 8 figures and more by doing less, not more. He's the author of a book called Focus Vertical, which will be released later on this year, host of Vertical Go-to-Market podcasts, and a former CMO of Scorpion, taking it from 20 million to 150 million in 6 years. Welcome to our show today.
Hey, Jesse, super excited to be here.
Awesome. Corey, can you tell me a little bit about kind of your history? I know that you had worked in Scorpion, grew them, and then now you've made kind of a switch. Can you talk a little bit about your history and background?
Sure. So the quick history is been in pretty much a sales and marketing type role my entire career. Majority of that time has been in the agency space. As you mentioned, the last role I had was at a company called Scorpion, which if your listeners are not familiar, it is it's a digital marketing agency that targets SMBs, small, medium-sized businesses. I joined in 2015 and we were doing about $20 million in revenue at that time. By the time I left at the end of 2021, we were doing 150 million. So we literally grew the company 7 times over that period.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
I bet you there's been a lot of transformation in Scorpion in order to handle that kind of growth.
Oh boy. Yes.
Yeah.
There's tremendous amount of identity shifts and changes in going from a small 100-person company to going to a 1,000-person company. So happy to talk about those. And I know that based on what we discussed before we hit record, is that a lot of the listeners here are probably smaller agencies. So I think the big lesson that I've learned during my time through that experience that I think is relatable to your audience is the challenge that agency founders have when they're growing 6 figures. Maybe they're in the 6-figure range, trying to get to 7, or maybe 7-figure, trying to get to 8. Is one of these things where it's like, what got me here isn't going to get me there type of thing, right? Which I know is a lot of the work that you do is helping with that. And the thing that I've been focusing on since I've left Scorpion, I'm now consulting with agencies to help them to grow. The specific thing that I'm helping with is working with founders of agencies who have gotten into the habit of saying yes to everything, or yes too often, right? And I think that as a growing business, you have to say yes in the early stages. You have to grow. You have to build the revenue and build the business. But at a certain point, there becomes a time when you saying yes to everything actually starts to work against you, and that's where I can help the founder with specifically a marketing go-to-market strategy around starting to say no. And only yes to the things that make sense for the longer term future.
And I bet that there's probably either warning signs or some time where you're going, hey, you're saying yes too much. Now you need to focus. What are some of those warning signs have you seen as being now you need to focus?
There's 3 things that I've noticed a pattern of in speaking with and working with agency owners. Number 1 is the cost per acquisition to acquire new customers is too high. And that may be because PPC costs have gone up, or just the overall cost of digital marketing continues to go up. It's always going up.
Yep.
Number two, you've tried third-party platforms and vendors and LinkedIn lead gen and all that stuff, and that's not really working. And your competition is just too fierce, right? So that's causing a very, very high cost per acquisition. That's not really doesn't make sense for your agency. Number two is that your customer churn is too high. You're losing customers too quickly. And so if you're trying to grow, let's say I was talking to an agency owner last week who grew the business. They acquired, I think, 13 new customers last year. Well, unfortunately, they also lost about 10. And so his ability to grow in the double digits, very, very aggressively is hampered because in this case, the customer churn is offsetting the growth. So when customer churn gets too high, you're probably saying yes too often. And the third thing is if you stop innovating for your clients because you're running around trying to serve every client of every shape and size. And so as we know, digital marketing is a very innovative space. We have things like ChatGPT, of a lot of different innovations around the world and online specifically that are happening. If you're not able to continue to innovate for your customers, you're probably saying yes too often.
Yeah, I can see that. That even happens at the six-figure level as well, where a lot of times saying yes to too many different types of clients means that you're customizing everything for each individual, which ends up being a complete mess. So I can see how that's applicable. It doesn't matter if it's 6, 7, or 8 figures.
When it comes to Scorpion, we grew the business from 20 million to 150, as I said. You can't do that by approaching the business from a customization perspective, a very manual kind of we'll figure it out as we go. We took the opposite approach, which was to take a very systematic approach. And the foundation of that was built in the idea that, hey, we're going to serve a specific vertical, a specific customer, and be able to become the best in the world at that. And that allowed us, because we were serving the same customer type over and over and over, in this case, attorneys, we were able to systematize and build a lot of processes and ultimately software that allowed us to bring on more customers, more attorneys as clients at scale without compromising the quality of the relationship or the quality of the output that we created for our clients.
And I know it is a mindset shift for people to decide, okay, I'm going to not serve everybody. I'm going to now serve this very specific person. And that's one of the challenges that I find a lot with people that we work with. What would you say to somebody that kind of is maybe like resisting the niche, the deciding to go into the niche, go all in, and then be the best at it?
Is psychologically like putting yourself in a pretzel, like your mind in a pretzel. It's very difficult to do because by saying no, you're literally turning away potentially short-term revenue that could help but grow the business again in the short term. But long term, if you truly want to scale, it's through saying yes. So I think the biggest objection that I hear is that, well, if I just say yes to, if I just focus on plumbers, let's say that, we've got a lot of traction with plumbers, but you also work with a lot of other businesses. As an agency owner, you said, well, if I just focus on plumbers, it's just one business type. And, I kind of like the variety. And by the way, what kind of agency is what kind of business am I going to build if I just focus on plumbers? Well, the reality is if you look up the market of plumbing businesses in the United States today, there are 150,000 plumbing businesses in the US today. And if you are successful in focusing exclusively on plumbers, you speak their language, you solve their problems better than anyone else, and you get, let's say, 3% of the market, you close 3% of all the plumbing businesses in the US, you will have a highly profitable, multi-million-dollar plumbing focused agency that will make you and your family very, very happy, and also afford you time to go hang out with the kids and go to the soccer games and spend time, the quality time and sort of the lifestyle that you want as a business owner.
I love it. Just 3% of a market can make it so that your dreams as an entrepreneur come true.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good point. How do people, in your experience, any tips that you have on kind of choosing that niche?
Mhm.
So you have like a whole bunch of different types of businesses, and you're going, okay, maybe it is the plumbers, right? But what are some tips that you would give somebody on kind of deciding on the niche?
First off, every single founder I've had this conversation with had a gut instinct on who their primary best fit customer was. They just know because they run the business, they're involved in everything. But I like going beyond gut feel, right? I want to be able to substantiate that a little bit. So I take them through a process where we quantify their current book of business. We look at we basically lay out all of the verticals that they're currently serving across across their client base. We look at things like, what is the average revenue per vertical? What is the retention rate? How long are they staying with us? How quickly are they closing? Right? Meaning, are we closing them in the sales process? If we do qualitative analysis around, NPS scores, which is net promoter score around like the satisfaction of the customer. If they score particularly high, then that's a vote for that vertical. Now, you also look at this from a qualitative perspective, meaning you could have customers that, they work really well on paper, but there's something inherently that you just don't connect with them. You don't like them, maybe. And every vertical has different type, different people in it, but there tends to be a sort of a personality type per vertical, right? Or maybe some kind of personal connection you may have, positive or negative. And so you want to really understand, if I'm going to commit my business for the next 3 to 5 years to dominating this vertical, do I like working with them? Do my sales team, do they report back to me and say, hey, yeah, we really connect with these buyers? And then the third audience that you need to interview is your customer success team, the people who are providing the day-to-day value and support to your customers. Who are they seeing the most success with? Who do they like working with? Who do they have the most sort of connection with and rapport with? All of those factors, when you add it in, plus the quantitative piece that I mentioned a minute ago, will really help to sort of bubble up a vertical or two that really are truly best fit customers for you. And at that point, you just want to make sure that there are enough of them to go after, to focus your business on. It doesn't make sense to focus your entire business around a market of 10 or a market of 50. You want to have somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 customers or potential customers in that space for it to be a viable space.
Oh, I love your process. I'm kind of like a geek when it comes to process. I'm like, that's really good. That's good. Yeah. So one of the things that I know a lot of six-figure agencies kind of deal with is this kind of balance between a process and the amount of time that it takes for them to get to a goal. So we talked a little bit about kind of like short-term versus long-term. And on the short-term, they're trying to serve as many people as possible. On a long-term, they're like, yeah, we do want to dominate a niche. But when they start this process, a lot of times there's kind of like a dissonance between how long it actually takes and how long they want it to take. So what are some of the things that you would tell somebody that kind of really is wanting to decide on the niche, wanting to double down, but they're going like, how long is this going to take for me to, to do that?
From a practical perspective, I would not recommend that an agency, once they've chosen a vertical, to fire all their non-vertical customers. Like you need to stay in business, right? You need to keep the doors open and the electricity running. So from a very practical perspective, it's more about focus. It's more about like, if we're going to go to a conference, or if we're going to write content, like who are we going to write for? Who's the avatar or the persona that we're writing for going forward? It's a focusing mechanism, right? And so from a timeline perspective, it takes time. It takes time to build credibility in the space. It takes time to understand the buyer and the customer at a deeper level. It takes time to get involved with their associations, like the trade associations and the conferences. And so truthfully, it's about an 18 to 24 month transitionary period from when you decide to start really focusing on this vertical to when you start to see things like word of mouth pick up within the vertical.
Yeah. It's good to put it like a time frame on it, because a lot of times people are like, maybe it's the marketing messages that are out there for six-figure agencies, like
get rich
it's
quick.
gonna happen in get rich quick. It's like, no, that's
riches are in the niches. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome conversation. So what is kind of like in the next 1 to 3 years? I know you're writing a book. You got the podcast. What is kind of like some things that you're either working on, or what's success for you in the next couple of years?
Well, I'm really excited to launch this book because I think that, or at least I hope that it's going to help a lot of agency owners, potentially listeners here, but just in general, to be able to access some of the things that we've been talking about here, some of the wins and the approaches and the philosophies that we took at Scorpion to help them to grow, that they'll get direct access to that, which I'm super excited about publishing that. And then I'm really excited about launching a course pretty soon about the same curriculum. And so those are some sort of business goals of mine. And in the meantime, just continuing to meet with agency owners who have this desire to go sort of vertical, if you will, or to do less, to grow faster by doing less, and by applying some of these approaches.
Awesome. Well, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, or do you have any offers for them that they can take advantage of?
I think the best way to get in touch with me, I'm on LinkedIn, but if you like this content and if you are interested in more sort of tips and ideas, I recommend you join my newsletter. I have a daily newsletter 5 days a week, where you can sign up on my website at coreyquinn.com/newsletter. And that's COREYQUINN.com/newsletter. And on there, you'll get a lot of actionable tips 5 days a week. And you'll also stay up to date on things like my book and my podcast as well.
Cool. Well, you can go to CoreyQuinn.com/newsletter and join his newsletter. I'm a part of it as well. And awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show, Corey.
Thank you, Jesse. It's been a blast.
Agency owners, if you want to transform your agency to sustain and grow without your direct involvement, where you can stop working in the business and switch to working on the business, where you can regain control of your time, delegate effectively, get paid what you're worth, and have your team run the day-to-day, go to nicheincontrol.com/case study right now to learn more about Leverage for Growth. You can book a free strategy session with us to look at your systems, understand what needs to be done in order for you to scale, and get a free strategic plan for the next year to live the life of entrepreneurship that you've always dreamed about. Go to nicheincontrol.com/case study. That is nicheincontrol.com/case study now.